right. Good morning, everyone. I am Scott. I am sober and I am a heathen. I am the sober heathen. Welcome to the podcast. Tonight I'm recording via candlelight because it sets a really good mood and it makes me feel good. And you'll kind of see in the background as my tapestry hanging in the back comes into view, as if it's a metaphor for the darkness that was encompassing my life for so many years. And there is hope. And ironically, it's a raven and the runes, which have been my spiritual factor of my recovery over this past half a year, maybe a little more. Man, I tell you, I've been doing a podcast tonight. Probably coming up in about 40 minutes. And you say, well, what do you mean? This thing just started. Well, I just did about a half hour of blabbering, trying to do a 12-step podcast, and there was no flavor to it. There was no, it wasn't real, because that's not what I needed to talk about. It was me just trying to put a podcast out so I could feel better about myself and say, hey, I put a podcast out. The real deal is that, it's been a rough few days, very up and down. Today I didn't get out of bed until 3. The one highlight was that I did get up and force myself to a meeting, a Peer 360 meeting. I didn't stay till the end because for whatever reason, I decided that I didn't want to say one thing that I was grateful for. And that's what they do at the end of the meeting. So I ducked out, and that's not okay. You have to finish what you start, especially in recovery. It can be very dangerous, especially since the meeting before with the 360, I was in there way early, and I allowed the conversation before the meeting to deter me from sticking around for the meeting to begin at all. I believe I was justified in my disdain for what was being said. You should never be talking about other people from the meeting with another person. I think I was justified in being irritated by that. But for myself, I need to just put the headset down and walk away, grab a Dr. Pepper, and let that shit go. It's a breeding ground for disaster. So yeah, I mean, there were a couple nights where I stayed up till about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, slept for a couple hours, went to a card show with a good friend, had a great time. But I was going on about an hour and a half sleep. I didn't sleep at all. Well, I slept for about an hour and a half, which really isn't anything. And so I was dragging ass. The card show was fun. We went to lunch. That was good. Had a good time. He's a good person. Pug, I love you, man. Thank you for getting me out of the house from time to time. Thank you for being this incredibly optimistic person. I don't know how you do it. You're an inspiration to me, and I've never said that to you. And I need to make sure that I send that in a text or call you and tell you that in person, because I don't know if you listen to the podcast. I know you said you have listened to some, but I don't know if you listened to this one, and you deserve to hear that because it's the truth, and I love you, my friend. And I'm in part to another friend, is in part responsible for this podcast, even though it's late or very early, however you want to look at it, me doing it. I at least told him that I was in a funk, and he said, you should do a podcast about it. And I was like, but I don't even know what the hell to say. I don't even know. And you guess what? I still don't know what the hell to say. And my mouth has been running now for several minutes. So, yeah, the counselor that I'm seeing for the 3rd time tomorrow, he continually says, that first year sucks. That first year sucks. And that's what I've heard since I started the program of AA. And trying to get this shit figured out. I've heard the first year is, no relationships for the first year, no big decisions in the first year. And it's like, you know what? Life goes on. Sometimes those things have to happen. So I've been trying to, oh, sorry, John Duty, if you ever listen to this, I said trying. I've been working to be somewhat productive at least once a day. And for the most part, I've not been nearly as productive as I could be. I could be doing a podcast a day. There's plenty of information, plenty of notes that I have that I could pump these things out. And the more I pump out, the more they're available, and you never know, how that's going to help myself or somebody else. I did spend some time over the last couple of days talking with some friends that are struggling, and it breaks my heart that I don't have the words that can change their thought processes and make them see that they have value and that they can do something about this. But that's the weight I can't carry. I can only be there to listen. And one of my friends, I told them that I was going to be very blunt with them, and I was, and we're still friends. So just like people need to do that with me, I need to carry and practice what I preach. Take these headsets off here because I don't need it. So cleaning your room, one thing that I've heard a lot of too in recovery is make your bed. And it sounds so silly and so simple because I mean, there are plenty of people that don't make their bed. But I got to thinking about it last night when I crawled into bed. And I'm going to make my bed before I go to sleep after this, by the way. The sheets are all screwed up, the blankets are all screwed up, and you crawl in and you're tired, you're finally ready to go to sleep, and now you got to fucking kick the feet of the blankets. They're all twisted together. It's not covering you. Some people like their feet out, some people like them covered up. I'm a person that like them covered up, and if it's all twisted and then so all of a sudden you're ready to go to sleep, and now you're pissed off at fabric. I was pissed off at fabric, and it's like, well, why don't you just make your bed like you've been fucking told to? And it's little things like that can add up. So before I go to sleep tonight, I'm going to take the time to make my bed so that when I crawl into the bed, that the sheets and blankets are all where they need to be. I could easily go with the excuse when I get done with this. Well, you know what? If I take the time to make the bed, then if I'm ready to go to bed, then I'm not going to be sleepy. I should just lay down and I'll make it in the morning. I can't do that. That's a life that led me down a shitty road. Things with people close to me are very odd right now. I'm very odd. I think I mentioned in podcasts, but I know not everybody listens to every one. So my dad helped me out financially quite a bit recently, and he and I have not been close. We've grown closer over the last couple of years. It started with a hospital visit. One of those times I ended up in the hospital, not knowing how I got there, and he came to visit me. It was right after my brother died. My brother was raised by him. Just circumstances led to me not spending much time with my father. But that, again, that's previous podcast, maybe a recap in a future one. But he came in and he gave me a hug as I'm laying in the hospital bed, and he told me he didn't want to lose me. And that started a path of something. I don't even know what it is. So this dude, he drives me up to treatment. He drives my truck up to treatment when I was living in sober living with my grandfather. They drive up there for it. He was paying my truck payments, and he hand delivered this check to me a week ago or so, and I mean it was a nice chunk of change. I mean, it was extremely generous and extremely appreciated. And I was like, thank you. And I want to sit down and talk with my father, my dad, and just have a conversation. I want to talk about family. I want to learn about his side of the family. I want him to learn about me. I want to learn about him. But for some reason, I don't know. I don't pick up the phone. And then for a second, my mind goes to, well, he's not picking up the phone either. And sure, communication is a two-way street. But I did ask for something and he did come through for me. And I know that he's a person that is not uh, openly communicative with hardly anyone. He's a very uh, introverted person. He keeps to himself. So that's just an excuse on my part. So knowing this and not reaching out, that puts a little chink in my armor, because it's like, okay, well, another day went by that you didn't call and you told him that you wanted to talk and he did this for you and now you didn't. I need to accept that I just didn't call, that it's not the end of the world. And I also need to accept that the right thing to do is to call and make this thing happen, because I owe it to myself to have a relationship with my dad. And you know what? He might get something out of it too. You never fucking know. I would rather Facebook stalk my mom's profile looking for stupid shit that she posts and waste my energy and time doing that than to call the dude that has been so helpful in the last year and is a big part of my recovery. Makes no sense. It's emotional because you want to change. I want to be I want to be a son as much as I want to be a father, and as much as I want to be a good significant other. And it's normal thinking. A lot of times I'll say it's the disease talking, but a good friend of mine, he said, like anxiety and depression and these thoughts, they're normal thoughts for every person. It's just people in addiction, I think, we use it as excuses, and maybe it turns our mind sideways a little easier. I'm not really sure anymore. But sometimes I tell myself that, you know what, dude, you're fucking 41 years old. 41-year-olds don't need a dad. And that sounds silly to anybody that's around my age who has a dad and they're close to. I have a great friend who lost his dad a while back, and he's torn up about it still. Misses his dad and wishes he could have his dad back. And I'm sure some people that have lost their fathers would be like, man, I wish my dad was here. I'd trade you in a second. And I get it. I get it. I don't know how to be a son. I don't know how to be a good family member, because my family has set terrible examples. But because I realize that, I also know in my head that now that I realize that, when I choose to do the same things, then I haven't learned anything. I'm just continuing the same bullshit that has brought me to these feelings. Now, again, in the podcast that I just deleted, I said knowledge doesn't solve the problem. Knowing what you're doing wrong doesn't solve the problem. Knowing that picking up that bottle didn't stop and it was going to go somewhere bad didn't stop me for years, didn't stop so many people for years. Husbands or wives cheating on their husband or wives, knowing it's wrong, didn't stop them from doing that. You get on the scales and you're like, oh crap, I can't believe this is the number that I'm looking at. We all, and then we go have a cheeseburger. We all do things like this. We know it's wrong and we do it anyway. So it's more to it than knowledge. It's going to take more than knowledge to make changes on these things that we're struggling with. And one is effort. Just do one thing. Call my dad one time. And if it's another month before you call again, I got to work up the effort to do it again and do it again and do it again. And then hopefully it'll stick. I mean, 4 treatments, 4 inpatient treatments. I think finally things are starting to come together. 250 days last year. So that alone is proof that effort. And you never know what can happen. Yeah, so I guess if this is an honest podcast and taking you on my journey, I feel good that I was able to take that money and send a substantial amount in child support and have some back to continue payments moving forward. But I've also spent money on myself. And I've been going through a battle in my head on where the line is. Like I bought these candles. Well, that's really glowy. They're fake, but I really don't have a light in this room. There's a lamp and it's super bright. And something about candlelight and bonfire light does something for me. So I bought them. I shouldn't feel bad about that. This is something that is soothing. It sounds stupid, but it's like when you owe money in child support and you have credit cards out there, why are you spending money on stupid fucking candles? I bought new shoes and I didn't need the shoes. I had shoes to wear. But there's an old saying in baseball, you look good, you play good. I think that can go for almost any sport, but you have your jersey tucked in. Your pants are, even. Your legs are even in the ball field. I know kids don't wear the not stirrups. The hell are they called? Anyway, the things that look like your stripes on your socks, the fake ones. If they're tucked in and they're even, you look good. Your hat all the way down, you look good. Your jersey tucked in, I think I said that already. Your belt's on, you look good. You play good. Well, if you look good in life, you feel good. So I've spent more than what I would like to admit, and more than I'd admit to anybody probably. But I've tried to keep it to buying things that are going to make me feel good. For instance, speakers, Bluetooth. I have spent, since their purchase, I have put many hours on them in these shitty days of just turning up the music, and just letting the music take over. It's therapeutic for me. But then there's the guilt coming back. Oh, you can't be doing this shit. And so, now I'm putting it out there. I'm going to post this, and my ex-wife could see it and say, well, you sent this money, but you're so far behind. I cannot believe that you're on here talking about buying these things. And she would be justified to think that way. But I feel like I'm making the best effort to get things that are going to help me move forward. Because if I can't, in a month's time, maybe it was supposed to be 6 months, and 6 months is next month for this monitor on my ankle. It's going to come off, and I don't know what the stipulations are going to be when this thing comes off. Am I going to have to blow? Am I going to have to, be on randoms? You never know what the PO is going to say. So I don't know what's coming. Sooner than later, and maybe sooner than maybe even I want, I could find myself without any oversight. and no devices. Now, it's ironic that in the one meeting that I made today, uh, a woman was in there talking about that, about how her court coming up, she could be all done with testing. And somebody in there in the meeting said, you know what? You don't have to stop. You can still do it. This thing is $7 a day to have on my ankle. That is money that I cannot continue spending without a job. So the good news is I did see a friend in the grocery store, and he offered to vouch for me to get a job where he works in the spring when things open up, if I'm still looking for a job. So I have that. Is it ideal? No. But I have to go and see, and see what it's all about, and probably take what I need to take until something comes that or I continue my education and other doors open. But every single day, that goes by, I beat myself up about the bills. I beat myself up about um, not seeing my kids for all this time. Um, I beat myself up about having an attitude with my great grandmother. Not returning my friends' calls when I should or could. I choose not to. I'm not as social with the people in my circle at times because it's a pity party to some extent, and I don't know what to say. I don't want to say things that are going to scare you, and I don't want to say things that uh, going to make you wonder where my mind's at. Because the truth is, I don't know where my mind's at. I feel like I can say with some certainty that my mind is uh, strongly on the recovery path still. As far as I don't want to drink ever again. That's still very true, and I can feel it in here. My spirituality has been up and down, but the bonfire that I went out and had tonight and just sat in silence after I was out there for a minute on my phone and was like, dude, get off your phone. I just sat there and listened to fire and coyote in the distance for a minute. And then the clouds cleared for a minute and I got to see some stars. It was really great. So I guess the moral of the podcast is milestone of 190 days yesterday. I'm closing in on 200, which I never thought would be possible. I got fines that I have to pay. I got because of my dad, I can throw money at it, but the money's only going to last for so long. But these aren't things that I can worry about right now. I can only do what I can do, and what I can do is I can end this podcast, go to sleep, get up first thing in the morning, go through the emails that I have on people inquiring. Most of the time it's automated from Indeed, but I still can do it. And just go from there. It'll happen. I did a rune cast today, asking the runes for some guidance, and I mean it couldn't get more spot on. It said that the action I should take has to do with ancestry. Has to do with I need to connect with my ancestry. So for that, you obviously can't connect with your ancestors because they're past, but your ancestry doesn't just mean the people that are past. It's telling me to reach out to my dad. It's telling me to reach out to my grandfather. It's telling me to work through this with my grandmother. And that's what I need to do. But I don't know if this podcast is going to be something that's going to be like, whoa, this is a really good one. But I guess it doesn't have to be good. It has to be the truth, and it has to be my journey. And this is my journey. This is where my head's at. I'm doing a podcast at 3:28 in the morning because it's what I need to do. I'm gonna do what I need to do to survive this. Because for the first time in a long time, I don't want to exist. I want to live. I don't want to go back to just existing. I want to stay up all night and play video games instead of being passed out. I want to go out and have a bonfire and connect with the gods. I want to have connections with people and family and friends. I want those things. I don't know what I'm in such a hurry for, wanting all these things to come so quickly. Because they will come as long as I do the next right thing. And I just need to enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey of the great friends that I have. Pug, Chris, Zach, you know, and there's clearly other people, but some people I don't mention by name for a reason. But those three dudes right there alone, I mean, even my ex-fiance's sister, you know, she helped me get some plants. She didn't have to do that. So I'm obviously not such a degenerate that nobody cares. I have very many people that care and continually reach out, and it's a blessing to see that every single day, because it is every single day. But if I give off in my post, if I give off for a second that I'm not heartbroken for what I did to my ex-fiance and my children, and what I put my grandmother through, and my neighbor who was looking after my grandma and who doesn't understand addiction worth a lick, but still, what I put her through, the people at the gas station when I put them through, that's all in the past, and I accept what I've done. But it's still in there, and it gnaws away every single day because I want to fix it, and I want to fix it yesterday. If anybody says that recovery is easy, or yeah, I, there are people out there that say, yeah, I just decided to quit one day. I didn't do any meetings, didn't do anything. I just said, I'm done. Well, God bless you. And I hope your life is all peaches and cream, because some of us, we got to fight every single day. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find the energy and the desire to keep fighting every single day, to do something that gives me fulfillment. Sitting in this room, I wish I could show you. It's just a tiny little fucking room. And when you don't want to go down and have conversations with the person you live with, and you choose not to answer your phone or text, you're creating your own prison. Creed song. So this podcast is my outlet. I'm gonna win. I'm winning every day that I don't pick up a bottle. That's the bottom line. And I go see the counselor tomorrow. And I need to make sure that I continue to do that even after I think I'm only court appointed to see him 8 times. And this will be third for him, so that'd be 4 total. I only got to do 4 more. Got to continue to do those things. So always looking for people to come on the podcast, always looking for guests, both Al-Anon, both in AANA or whatever you want to call yourself. If you're in addiction, please send me a message. I'd love to have you. I still want to do a panel episode. I think it would be great to have an open discussion. I think there are a lot of things that I'd like to do. It's just, fighting through the anxiety and the depression and the woe is me's and all the things that come with all this shit. Um, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it right now. So anyway, if you have been watching and you made it this far, I really appreciate you. I love all of you who listen. Um, the sober heathen at yahoo.com if you need to reach out. Scott at the soberheathen.com. There is a website with some information on it, but it's a work in progress. Started uploading to Rumble tonight. Hopefully tomorrow I get all the episodes up on Rumble. And then Rumble is a lot easier to monetize. So I think that I might be doing some content, maybe even some live content once I learn a little more about Rumble. Just to throw it out there and see what happens, Also on TikTok, Twitter, what is it? It's Apple Music, Amazon or Apple Podcast, Amazon Music is what it is. Spotify podcast is there. Yeah, if shoot me to those emails, the soberheathen at yahoo.com or Scott at the soberheathen.com. Shoot me topics or things that you'd like to hear my point of view on. I'd gladly do that for any request. So you folks have yourself, if you're listening tomorrow morning, have yourself a great morning and a great day. If you're listening to this and it's in the future, I still hope that your day is a good one. I hope if you are struggling that you find the strength to put the effort in to get the help that you need, even if it's the icky kind, like saying, I need to go away from my people for a while to get recalibrated. And yeah, you have no idea what it means to me to see the views on this thing pop up. If I get no views, that's all right too, because I'm going to hit end on record on this thing and I'm going to feel better about myself for being willing to put myself out there, put my story out there, chronicle where I'm at. I'm 191 days officially. I'm still struggling, but I'm still winning. You win by 1 run or 100 runs, as long as you win the game. That's all that matters. And I won March 20th because I didn't fucking drink. So fuck this disease. Fuck it up. It's rotten, smelly ass. I hope that you find your way and just keep watching, keep reaching out, and let's keep this connection, because having this connection is the only way to stop this addiction. So again, love you all. I'm the Sober Heathen, and thanks for listening, man. I really appreciate you, all of you. Thanks.